Now, the important question is, I wasn't prepped. Oh my god. Hold on. Where is it? Go away. Go away, silly outline. There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another stream. My name, of course, is Alma Hexblade, your head guild master and chief barista. And, of course, it is Friday. That's what the day of the week is. It's Friday. It's Finding Out Friday. Congratulations on making it through another week. Your reward is knowledge. Knowledge. It's a very good reward. And if you say otherwise, then I think you're wrong and you should leave. But it's okay. Let me see here. What was the topics that I had today? So today on today's episode was, what was it? Cars, Doom, funny vandalism, leapfrogs, melons, and robots. And I think there's a little bit more. But that's all I can think about. And I think we're in a good track already. Surprisingly, I think we're at our backlog. We've already passed the backlog. I mean, we're running through content, which is kind of surprising because we always run a backlog here, and we always have like stuff that I can't play because we basically hit the time limit. But I'm surprised we've gotten through everything. So that's nice. Good job, everybody. All right, let's not hesitate any longer. I think I should have this set up. Let's find out. Of course not. Of course not. Hold on. I'll get it. Hold on. No. Yes. And then, oh, you guys are missing. Hold on. There you go. I don't know why it doesn't work. It's so weird. There we go. Okay, I got everything working. Yay. All right, let's go through the first thing. It was this one I think was submitted by Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. What was it? How Toyota changed the way we make things. So that it's from Bloomberg? And it's so vague that I'm kind of curious what it actually is. So, yeah. Oh, it's not showing up. Oh, the audio isn't showing up. I don't test this. I usually make things work. Routing. Why is it not like that? Save. Ooh, you decided to... Yeah, no, it's just I took a nap and then woke up late. Haha.
It became the first.
I'm always very sleepy.
More than 10 million a year. Its success is rooted in a special system and began what's now known as lean manufacturing, an ethos emulated by companies around the world.
Toyota makes lean?
To make products faster, cheaper, and better.
Am I not paying attention enough?
Changed the way we make things. Following the Second World War, Japan was left in a precarious economic position.
Yeah, you could say that.
Already disadvantaged by lacking natural resources, materials were hard to come by.
Being a
had to be creative to compete.
Goddamn island.
Toyota's founder, Seikichi Toyoda, had started a loom business, but it was his son Kichiro who founded the motor company in 1937. They were used to working within narrow margins. As the shortage of materials increased during the war, the number of headlamps on its Model K truck was reduced to one, and it only had brakes on one of the axles. The turning point for Toyota's production system would come in the early 50s, when Kichiro's cousin Eiji would travel to the US with a veteran loom machinist, Taiichi Ono. They visited Ford's River Rouge plant in Michigan and were impressed by the scale of the operation, but knew that in cash-strapped Japan, companies didn't have the resources for such a system. Having months' worth of stock sitting in a warehouse would tie up precious capital they didn't have. Instead, what truly impressed Ono was a visit to a supermarket, a Piggly Wiggly, according to legend. Japan didn't really have self-service stores at this point, and he was struck by the way customers could choose exactly what they wanted, when they wanted. He decided to model his production line on a similar idea. With the supermarket
Huh?
formula, only enough parts were produced in the first phase to replace what was used in the second, and so on. This is where the just-in-time system really took shape.
Oh.
Toyota was able to eliminate much of the waste in Ford's system, making smaller numbers of parts to be used when it needed them, allowing the company to operate on a tighter budget. As part of this, Ono developed Kanban, a sign-based scheduling method which shows goods in production, and goods out.
That's just
It's now seen as a precursor to barcode.
bog.
Ono
Bag,
and Toyota
bag,
also
bog.
noticed that American car companies were still employing many of Henry Ford's early production techniques. They kept operations at full tilt in order to maximize efficiencies of scale, but then had to repair defective cars after they rolled off the line. Ono believed this caused more problems and didn't encourage workers or machines to stop making the mistake. So he placed a cord
Weird.
above every station which any worker could pull to stop the entire assembly if they spotted a problem. The whole team would work on it to prevent it from happening again. As teams identified more problems, the number of errors began to drop dramatically.
So you don't know about
Combined with a culture of continuous incremental improvement called Kaizen, the
Oh.
production system built a brand known for making reliable.
Did not know it like that. Thank you.
cars. But Toyota was also getting good at producing cars quickly. In 1962, the company had produced 1 million vehicles. By 1972, they'd produced 10 million. It was around that time that the efficiencies of their factories enabled Toyota to produce a car every 1.6 man-hours, much lower than their competitors in the US, Sweden, and Germany. And as the oil crises of the decade sent gas prices higher, cheap-to-run Japanese cars became much more appealing to Americans, whose powerful but gas-guzzling vehicles suddenly became very expensive to run. Today, Toyota has made over 250 million vehicles. Others have looked to them to learn the lessons of lean, combining craft with mass production, avoiding waste while striving for constant improvement. Boeing is perhaps the most famous, restructuring a plant to better suit TPS. Intel is another long-time lean ambassador and is exploring the principles in the context of AI and the Internet of Things. A Canadian hospital system to
Sorry, I just heard Intel being a lead ambassador and my mind just going off the rails. I need to hear that again.
Intel is another long-time lean ambassador and is exploring the principles in the context of AI and the Internet of Things. A Canadian hospital
I can't help
even
it.
used
It's
the
very
Toyota
fun.
system to decrease wait times in its ER. The Toyota production system changed not just how cars are made globally, but how we approach making things full stop. It also showed that there's always a better way to make a product.
Very good. Do lean ambassadors become diplomatic paying gifts of lean? Oh, can you turn up the video? Sure, I absolutely will. Let's see the next one. Oh, the next one's a short, so yeah, we can test this real quick. The first time we've had a short on here. It's kind of weird.
He printed a really cool MIMS gyroscope.
Mem.
You heard that right. Not all gyroscopes are just spinning tops. This
Meme.
type of gyroscope uses electricity to create tiny vibrations in these compliant springs. And because of inertia, those vibrations will resist rotation. And small sensors will be able to measure that resistance force. Then it's able to calculate.
I don't
how
know why
sensor
the video
is
is this
rotating.
quiet.
These are used in a ton of applications, but an obvious one is allowing small drones to be able to fly level because they can measure their rotation. Oh, and this model is 100 times the size of a real MIMS gyroscope. Technology is so cool. And while this one won't work as a real gyroscope, it does make a fantastic credit card-sized compliant fidget toy to play with.
It does seem like a fun fidget toy. Yeah, these are that's the accelerometer you guys see in like phones and other small stuff, like, because obviously accelerometers and gyroscopes can't be that big, you know. All right. So here's the next video is going to be the long one for today. And this one's good because it's about Doom on the 3DO, which I think a lot of people have been telling me about. I know this is long. It's 30 minutes, but it is our single long video for the day. So we'll take care of it.
It's me, Derek, and welcome to Past Mortem. Yeah, that's right. Not a 3DO Doom punching weight, but a past mortem, our first one ever, and that is because the development story of 3DO Doom is so insane, so
3DO
unbelievable,
Doom.
that I had to dedicate a whole video just to how it was made. Though it is a close race to the bottom when it comes to Doom console ports, 3DO Doom is often considered the worst. Now for me personally, Saturn Doom just edges it out. And then of course, PlayStation Final Doom, well, it knows what it did.
Didn't it have the best version?
But no port
Yeah, it
has
apparently
any
had the
sort of
best
history
version.
than the
Version.
3DO version. Yes, this port is bad. Very bad, even by bad Doom standards. But that it exists at all is a miracle. It has been nearly 30 years, and with only one readily available source, the exact points of what happened at what time are maybe a little muddy, but the major points and major players are all there. And yeah, I've touched on this topic before, but more about the story has come out over the years. Though by the end, I can't promise you won't feel a little awkward about that custom soundtrack. But anyway, welcome to Stop Skeletons and Fighting. Welcome to Past Mortem. And ladies and gentlemen, friends, this is the story of 3DO Doom. But first, this video is sponsored in part by Surfshark. Now, if you're anything like my dog Dollop here, you have three major concerns.
This
One,
video is goated.
your privacy
I hope so.
online. Two,
I will secretly skip the Surfshark ad because I think we know what it does.
perhaps best known as the console that unleashed Gex onto an unsuspecting
Gex!
populace, it might shock you to learn that the 3DO was a
got
disorganized
Gex.
mess. The whole business model behind the console was a bit of an experiment, with a central 3DO company that not only had the normal third-party game developers, but also third-party system manufacturers, and all these companies had to coordinate. It did not go well, to put it mildly. The 3DO launched in October 1993 with an eye-popping suggested retail price of $6.99 and only one game. That one game, I'm not making this up, Crash and Burn. And on top of that, there weren't even that many systems to go around. While games eventually did come out for 3DO, and even some good ones like D and Need for Speed, and the price eventually went way down, it was never a match for the giant gray elephant in the room. The one thing 3DO had going for it was its historically low licensing fees. Only $6 per manufactured game. Later, this fee was brought down to $3 per game. Putting that into perspective, before the GameCube launched, people were excited at the prospect of Nintendo lowering GameCube disc fees to $9 or $10, and 3DO started at $6. This was enough to attract tons of software developers looking for an opportunity, like the main character of our story, Randall Letcher Scott, president of up-and-coming game studio Art Data Interactive. Now, Randy here was a floppy-haired man who claimed to have previously worked as, and this is directly from 3DO Magazine, VP of Sales at ABC International, where he was responsible for distributing games all over the world.
What?
Wow, that's pretty cool. But I have never heard of this company before. And since we're still getting to know Randy here...
Like ABC, like American Broadcasting Company? What?
I decided to look this company up. As far as I can tell, according to this completely unrelated 1997 court document, ABC International, full name ABC International Traders Inc., was a, quote, wholesale distributor of telephone equipment and other electronics.
What?
Which can include games. Turns out they used to own the trademark for micro games, which made a ton of LCD handhelds in the 80s and 90s, and sort of functioned as a worse Tiger Electronics, if you can believe such a thing actually existed. But anyway, experience with LCD games distribution doesn't exactly make Randy a video game expert. Looking back at the 3DO Magazine article, this seems like a lie of omission at best. I mean, sure, games, maybe even LCD games, but he's not exactly the insider he's trying to present himself as.
Sure is the game.
I doubt he ever touched a video game or was the VP of anything, for reasons that'll become clear over the course of this video. It would be a really weird thing to lie about, but it's not going to be the weirdest lie you're going to hear in this story. But one thing is for sure, Randy had a talk game. He was a salesman, if not a full-on confidence man. Somehow, he managed to convince people to give him tons of cash to invest in his new video game development company, Art Data Interactive,
Modest nostalgia for the...
in 1993. He says he raised a couple...
It's a very interesting thing to have nostalgia for.
Okay, I'm side-eyeing that phrase, industry connections, but I've also seen claims that some of that money was fundraised from his church congregation. I don't know, maybe he and Bobby Kotick went to the same church?
What?
I'm joking. We all know that Kotick can't enter a church without bursting into flames. Digressions aside, ADI had enough money for an office in Simi Valley, Southern California, and several employees. But, and I cannot emphasize this enough, Randy seemed to have zero game development experience. In fact, I'm not even sure he knew how computers worked. Here's how he described the game development process. We all come in.
What's happening?
For 6 to 7 hours. The non-creative people go home, and the creative people stay up all night. And the eye candy elf does his work. You come back in the morning, and there are lots of strange, magical things on everyone's screen.
What? What does this mean? It just sounds like you just like played Doom in the office, took some hallucinogens, came back, and made a fever dream. Like, what? What?
What the f are you talking about, Randy?
What does he
Anyway,
mean?
ADI's first project was publishing and distributing Rise of the Robots for 3DO in 1995, which, believe it or not, was a game people were stoked on.
Graphics to die for?
Before it actually came out.
Oh boy, look at those
Looks
reflections.
bad, but it can't be that bad, right, Matt McMuscles?
Nobody likes Rise of the Robots.
What?
Aw.
The most talked about combat game since Street Fighter 2?
What?
In any case,
What's
it was a
that
bit of a get for ADI, you know, before it came out, and Randy was on the hunt for the next IP that would become a surefire hit. Meanwhile, while all this 3DO craziness was happening, Jaguar Doom came
I like robots, but what is this?
and opened the floodgates for console Doom. Now,
Console Doom.
was ready to get them Doom licensing fees, looking to fund Quake's development, and CarMax Ferrari had it. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. id Software knew that based on the 3DO's capabilities, it would be really difficult to get a good port of Doom on the 3DO. So to
So
weed
what
out the
isn't
unserious,
getting hot and bothered.
they
Excuse me, I
basically
don't get
sold
hot and bothered.
an
I just am
astronomical price of
enthusiast.
$250,000.
I just
I'm
get
calling this astronomical
nicely
because
excited.
3DO game sales were
Excuse
so
me.
low at this point in the console's lifespan, with average games clocking in at about 5 to 10,000 units, which would make it really difficult to turn a profit at that price. Basically, you'd either need to have some serious bona fides or be a headstrong idiot with a ton of money. And that, my friends, is how our boy
Enthused.
Randy, a man with no meaningful industry
Yeah.
connections or experience, was able to get the 3DO rights to Doom.
How did he do it?
So in mid to late 1994,
What's he cooking?
money was exchanged, and id Software gave Randy the 3DO rights to Doom, a promise of the rights of Doom 2 so long as Doom 1 sold well enough, and waved him out the door. As far as I can tell, the only major restriction was that the game had to be out by December 1995. So with the PC source code and a copy of the game in tow, Randy started to do what Randy did best. He started to sell. As early as December 1994, Randy was out promoting 3DO Doom and 3DO Doom 2, promising a massive upgrade of visuals, all new audio, plus new monsters, new weapons, and new levels. Okay, first of all, the audacity that this man thinks that he can improve Doom. At the time, there were like 4 people that could improve Doom, and they were all working on Quake. Anyway, by April of 1995, he was boasting that Doom was ready to be mastered.
No.
I am just going to read an edited down version of what he told the interviewer from 3DO magazine because it is incredible. There is simply no comparison between the PC and 3DO versions. It's lost nothing. It's been improved upon, in fact. We're gonna pump up the screen resolution. We're not gonna sacrifice the gameplay for 1 second doing so.
Ah,
We're
here
also
we
gonna add a
go.
new, never before
At least he didn't try to make us his-
new levels, new monsters, plus powers, and new weapons. Plus powers?
How do you-
What the hell is he talking about? Oh, and it skipped over
Oh
this
no,
part
he's
earlier.
just lying.
It says to load up your rocket launchers and break out the suntan oil because this is the hottest version of Doom that you are ever gonna see.
Break out the what?
Well, that sounds amazing, Randy. Of course,
Um.
none of these features actually existed. In fact, development hadn't even begun. Randy attempted to contract 2 different developer companies, with him ditching one after they quoted him 2 years and around $3 million, and the other one ditching Randy after he refused to pay them for reaching their first development milestone. Eventually, the 3DO company started to notice that the studio trying to bring a flagship game to their flagging system by October 95 didn't have much to show for it, despite claims that it was mostly finished. I wish I could tell you more about those first 2 developers, especially the one that apparently actually started work on 3DO Doom, but we only know about the 3rd developer, which is how we meet the other main character of this story, Rebecca Heinemann, aka Burger Becky. Becky is a bit of a legend, winning the
Oh, snap!
first ever
It's
national
she.
video game competition for Space Invaders,
Queen.
leveraging that into a programming
It's
career
the Queen.
co-founding Interplay, programming the Bard's Tale
You're Facebook friends with her? Yo!
aka Another World, Wasteland, and most importantly for this channel, the Apple II GS, Super Nintendo, and 3DO ports of Wolfenstein 3D. That 3DO port, by the way, is probably the best console port of Wolf 3D. And having hands on that Super Nintendo port means she also deserves a tiny bit of credit for Super 3D Noah's Ark.
Yeah!
This house is a compliment. But in 1995,
Let's
she
go!
had just left Interplay and formed a new studio, Logicware. New studios need cash. So when the 3DO company reached out to her with a request to help out a company with an id console port that was at about 90%, but just needed some help getting over the finish line, she jumped at the chance. This was one of her specialties after all, and she was eager to get into the good graces of the 3DO company. So Becky and Randy hopped on a call together. He started doing his Randy thing, telling her that there were 2 other teams that had worked on this project, but
Playing
both just quit suddenly. But hey, not a problem, that's why she's here. So she asked to see the code that the other teams had produced. And that's when things started to take a turn. And before we get much further, just so you know, this story comes from what Heinemann has revealed over the years, and the details have changed slightly with each retelling.
Or how I survived hell.
For reasons that'll become clear at the end of the video, I was not able to reach out to Randy to ask his side of the story. Anyways, Randy said that he could get the second team's code, but that they hadn't given it to him yet. Okay, not necessarily a red flag, but then he hit with this whammy. How about I pay you after the game ships? And there we go, there's Randy, there's the real Randy. Now
What?
she's actually met him. Now luckily, Burger Becky, who by the way got that nickname because of her habit of
What?
having a dedicated burger drawer at work on the Napoleon Dynamite's tots, wasn't having any of that.
Mood,
Negotiated
honestly.
$10,000 just to start the project, which Randy reluctantly accepted. Becky
Hey.
basically then twiddled her thumbs for 2 weeks, waiting for the other team's code, or at least its software source code. Randy kept giving her the runaround, asking her to just start development with what she already had, which was nothing. It's unclear why Randy didn't give her the source code he bought from its software, but I wager it's because he had zero idea what the hell that was. Finally, she got a floppy disk, but it was full of JPEGs of weapons Randy wanted her to put in the game. Hey, where the hell did this 90%
Just lame JPEGs?
What is going on? She called him and tried to explain that she can't do anything without the game code. And Randy is completely confused. Don't you have a copy of the game already?
What?
Yep. Turns out this guy knew so little about game development, he thought that all you needed to port a game was a retail copy. You know, just put the PC disc inside the 3DO, Candy
No!
Fairies make it all work. Right, Randy? By this point,
He
it was
had the
July
source
95.
code,
Remember, this game
too.
needed to come out by December after the latest version would expire. So Becky, being a sensible person, quit the project, which of course sent Randy complaining to the 3DO company, who called Becky in a panic. Why did you abandon the game? What game? Apparently, ADI had already started prototyping boxes with screenshots, which were actually just PC screenshots with Randy's new weapon JPEGs photoshopped into them. And believe me, if those screenshots were out there somewhere, we would be showing them to you right now. Believe me. So the 3DO company is in a huge bind. Their console was underperforming. Sega Saturn was out. PS1 and 64 were on the horizon, and it would be a huge embarrassment if this fantastical version
Oh yeah,
of
this is the crazy
which
part.
Randy had been
Yeah, this is where the
promoting
crazy's
for
happening.
months now didn't actually come out. So Becky agreed to resume work as a favor to 3DO, but it was clear she couldn't really depend on Randy and would have to take the initiative. Since she'd worked with id Software before, she was able to call up John Carmack herself to ask for the source code for any console port. Carmack, being a solid dude, sends her the source code for Jaguar Doom, and Becky sets to work. After 2 more weeks,
She used the source code for Jaguar 2 for the 3DO port?
was able to assimilate the code
What?
to get it to build. Basically, just to de-Jaguar it, which finally set up a foundation for the rest of the 3DO port. She then called up the 3DO company and explained that it's gonna take 6 to 9 months to really get it working on 3DO. They gave her 10 weeks. And that isn't because they're heartless. Remember, one of the few stipulations of the licensing rights was a gotta get something out by December. Randy's
here we go.
incompetence and the 3DO company's
Was made by Id.
mismanagement
Well, I mean,
had
if it's
finally
good.
collided, and Becky found herself right in the middle. And because Becky is a sensible person, she quit again. I'm just kidding. She didn't actually, because the 3DO company convinced Art Data to pay Becky twice the normal going rate for a conversion job, from about
Oh, nice.
20,000 to 40,000. So with reluctance, but also the well-being of her new studio in mind, she accepted the job and got back on the line with Randy. I'm sure they had some enlightening discussion like, well, can't you just plop a Jaguar cartridge into a 3DO disc slot? I mean, he might have said something like that. We don't actually know. But he did ask her this. When are you going to add in the cutscenes?
What?
The what? Excuse me? Cutscenes?
What cutscenes?
Yeah, sorry for bearing
It's
the lead on the
Doom!
cutscenes. This story was complicated enough already. So, as if all of this wasn't bad enough.
Doom! What do you mean?
While this Doom development nonsense is going on, ADI was making another game. Chess Wars, a medieval fantasy.
I bit my
video
tongue.
and
What the fuck?
Actually, scratch that. Just
Ow.
DOS, because, shocker, this game also had a trouble development and did not actually release on 3DO. Also, when I say they were making Chess Wars, what I mean is that in probably mid to late 1994, ADI spent a reported $500,000 on a film shoot with 18 actors, 6 stuntmen, and over 100 extras for battle chess, but with actors.
What?
Chess Wars ended up having over an hour of video crammed in, but, according to Moby Games, only one developer. The actual game development was an afterthought. I am sensing a pattern here. And to add insult to injury,
Oh,
Battle
no.
Chess, the game that Chess Wars was ripping off, was a game that Rebecca's company Interplay developed in 1988 and got ported to the 3DO. The whole thing is super interesting. For sure, Alex here deserves his own video too, but we have to get back to Doom and its supposed cutscenes. One of the companies
What's even
working
going
this Chess
on?
Wars shoot was Global Effects, which specializes in props and costumes for Hollywood movies, and they are legit with a resume that spans decades, and of course includes this monstrosity. Your eyes do not deceive you. That is a Doom Cyber Demon costume, or at least an approximation of one.
Oh, there it is.
Art Data Interactive actually did make cutscenes for Doom, and yes, there is photographic proof. I reached out to Global Effects and spoke to Chris Gilman, president and founder, as well as the man, the myth, the legend behind these photos. Turns out, the 3DO Doom costume is based off of a Minotaur costume Global Effects already had.
Oh my god.
Normally a totally new.
There's the
costume
image.
cost $30,000 to $50,000.
There it is.
But
There's the
ADI only
image.
had to fork over $10,000 because they only needed a new head and hands for their Cyber Demon.
Oh,
The rest of
okay.
this I'm pulling from this awesome article at Time Extension by Jack Yarwood, which is linked in the description below. Basically, Gilman and crew brought the costume and some props to ADI's office in Simi Valley. And friends, I hope you're sitting down. Art Data didn't know what they were doing and set up a green screen that was both too small and too close to the actors.
No.
I guess there wasn't even a script. I'd be shocked if there was actually a script. Apparently, only about a minute of footage was made, but they really tried to do this. Can you believe
Minute
that this had
post-edited.
actually happened? Like for the Doom reboot, they pulled rip and tear from the comic books. What if there existed a Doom game where he had a love interest? I mean, I guess he's always had one, but you know what I mean.
It's his
I
bunny,
guess we
of
can
course.
only imagine what could have been. You know, if every single circumstance was different. But the craziest part of all of this is that it happened way back in '94, potentially before the ink had dried on ADI's deal with its software. I know this because the Doom costume was photographed at 1995's Consumer Electronics Show, which took place in very early January. And how do I know it was there? Because there is tiny proof at the end of Game Fan Magazine's 1995 CES feature. Plus, there was also a Usenet post from a week after the show describing the resulting FMV as such, with the acting quality of Baywatch and the special effects of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Yes, it was that bad, and no Pamela Anderson to distract you from its failings. Just
I was like, the acting quality of Baywatch, so was it good? Apparently not. Okay.
so wimpy Darian Lambert look and feel alike as our hero. I mean, that last reference didn't age very well. I had to look this up. Darian Lambert is a character from the short-lived TV show Time Tracks, and I'm sure we can all imagine the vibe. But if you are like me, I'm sure you are thinking, what happened to that costume? Well, It disintegrated in the years since, and yes, I did try to rent it because it has been listed on their website for, I'm guessing, 30 years? Can you believe a piece of Doom history has just been hiding in plain sight, undiscovered on some random special effects company's website for decades?
Oh, it's just listed
Shout out to Marfy Black for tweeting
Doom.jpg?
about it back in July, and Sean for poking us about it a week later. Y'all are really the ones who got the ball rolling on this video.
Oh, what the hell? It's just there.
Anyways, back to Randy and Becky. It is now August 95. There is just 10 weeks to get a technically playable version of Doom off to get mastered and produced. ADI agreed on paper to Becky's plan for a straight Jaguar port, but Becky decided to report to the 3DO company mostly instead. And that's because Randy kept pestering her with insane feature requests. New levels, those damn cutscenes, more weapon JPEGs, you can probably imagine. 2 weeks into this 10-week schedule, she realized she had a problem. Jaguar Doom had sound effects.
Oh no.
But no music. But what if there was a way to get music but also distract Randy? Here's how Becky told it in a 2022 presentation.
And then, that's when the CEO of Art Data, when he was once again on the phone begging me to put in these cutscenes, mentioned that he has a band. Kill two birds with one stone.
What?
Make him think he's helping out this game, which he was actually, so I will give him that. And B, get him off my back.
So Becky played the original Doom songs into a cassette tape and sent them to ADI's office. Every 2 or 3 days, a new track would trickle in, and unfortunately, gotta hand it to him. It's clear Randy and his bandmates had legit musical chops, but we're not extremely familiar with Doom. The result is a solid but kind of loose interpretation of the iconic soundtrack.
Oh my god.
It is also
It's okay, I've got a band.
devastating games of musical telephone. Bobby Prince reinterpreted Pantera and other bands into MIDI, and then Randy reinterpreted those songs with real instruments. It is actually pretty good, or you will have to take my word for it, because I decided not to include any of it in this video.
No!
Randy occupied, Becky
No!
was able to get to work, and it sounded like the crunch from hell. You know,
I need to hear
no
this.
shower, only.
Hold on, no, I need to hear this. I can't get lied to like that. Hold on. I need to hear this. Huh. Randy should just... Honestly, this is... Huh. Whoever's doing the weird freestyling in the back is like making this different. It's making it hit different. The power of CD, yeah, this is CD audio. Hey Sword, hello. This seemed, hold on, there's a playlist for these. What are these? Ooh. Yeah, Derek undersold this. This is my favorite, just because it sounds weirdly wimpy. It sounds so chill. Yo! Yo, hold on. I need to hear that drum fill at full. Yo! Who was that? Who did that? It doesn't sound like Doom, but it does sound good. It's like a weird Doom, like 80s cover band, which sounds right. Because Derek did say it was like musical telephone, right? Oh wait, hold on. Is this where? The guitar's confusing me. I mean, they had musical talent. What? It's like you could hear the keyboard and like the sample is like $100 Roland keyboard, like. Down, out, down, 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 out, out, down, out. Okay, what would everyone rate this album though? I want to rate this like. I want to rate it like a 7 out of 10. Right? I want to. There's something cool you should hear quick. That's very rare. Yeah. Is everyone saying like 7? Is like like it's not bad. But like if you could tell it's sort of Doom, but it's not. It doesn't have the same Doom energy. That's so weird. It's like you took out the energy from Doom, and it makes me so confused. Big Doom energy, yes. They took away the Doom energy from this. And then they like made it something. I'm gonna keep it playing. Like they took the Doom energy away, and it's like a husk of a Doom part. Like, I mean, I don't want to say it's like some kind of weird, like, bootleg version of these songs, because I don't want to discredit the artists here. What's this percussion? Is that like a marimba? Do you guys hear the like that woody sound in the back? Kind of sounds like water drops. This sounds like I'm in a cave level. I'm in a cave level. What? Lunar, post the other thing. We're gonna get back to this.
3DO for weeks on end. Even still, while she was working her ass off, Randy was constantly bugging her for feature requests, asking for online multiplayer on an offline console. If she wasn't able to make new levels, maybe she could just rip something off of the internet. And hey, how are those cutscenes coming along?
She what?
Front, I truly don't know what they expected Becky to do. How is she supposed to rotoscope this poorly filmed footage? So she just pretended that she never got them. I guess that's the real reason this game doesn't have the FMV sequences. Becky just literally pretended that they never existed. At long last, at week 8 of 10, the game was playable. Which, like, wow, I guess that means that not only did Becky actually pull this off, she did it ahead of schedule? One problem though, it ran at 8 frames per second. It was so bad that even Randy was like, this seems a bit chuggy. The 3DO company was like, hey, what you have been able to do is incredible, but the bottom floor has to be 15 FPS. And that is why Doom for the 3DO has such a small screen. It was the only way to hit that 15 FPS requirement consistently. Though,
Oh my
the
god,
had
it's so
required that
tiny.
The game had to be in full screen. So Becky threw in a cheat code that would allow full screen, and the promise to Randy that it would look awesome once the successor to the 3DO, the M2, came out. Which of course it never did.
It'll look good on next gen. Next gen doesn't exist.
Shockingly, while it ran like a bowl of mashed potatoes, there weren't really any bugs, so they sent it off to Gold Master at the 3DO company, and it worked.
I mean,
Say what you want about 3DO Doom.
It's
it is not
Doom.
good, but it is functional.
Same problems in
all
64
it
HD. Yeah.
Can't imagine how amazing Becky felt at that moment. I hope she slept for weeks on a bed of burgers. But there was still trouble on the horizon. If you've been keeping track at home, old Randall Scott had been racking up quite a bill for 3DO Doom. From my count at least, it's $250,000 for the Doom license, $40,000 for Burger Becky, which Randy actually tried to stiff her on, but she refused to hand over the final disc to the 3DO company until he paid her. Queen shit. Around $10,000 for the Cyber Demon costume, not to mention, I don't know, film crew, props, actors, and equipment. Also,
The lack of
whatever it
bugs
costs
is
to
such
take
a
the suit to
praise.
CES,
Yeah.
Plus whatever maintaining several staff and an office space in Simi Valley costs. Even the cost of shipping songs. Speaking of which, there is no way the other people in the band got paid any money.
Yeah, they probably
Bottom line,
didn't.
it was a lot of money he had to make back. So Randy, well, he pulled a Randy. He decided to order 50,000 copies of 3DO Doom. Oh, the Schadenfreude is just immaculate.
How many 3DO consoles were there released? Hold on. Number of 3DO O's sold. How many of these guys? How many of these were sold? I need to know. Give us the numbers, Wikipedia, please. Units sold approximately 2 million or more worldwide. 50,000 copies? Okay, that doesn't sound that bad in comparison. The only number that I can see that we can use for comparison is Gex selling at least 1 million copies. So, yeesh.
Numbers for this are hard to track down, but just so you know, around this time in 1995, there were about 250,000 3DOs total in the US.
250,000.
Like I said earlier,
Okay.
the average 3DO game sold about 5 to 10,000 units. And Randy was doing 50,000. He is the definition of the guy who doesn't know when to fold them. By the way, this added an extra $300,000 just on licensing and manufacturing fees from the 3DO company.
Dude!
$300,000 that he apparently never paid 3DO. Please note, we have no way of verifying that, but it certainly wouldn't be out of step. Arc Data Interactive made their December deadline, but just barely, releasing 3DO Doom on December 29th, 1995. For the record, the PlayStation version of Doom, which obliterated this version in every way imaginable, had been out for months already. Just imagine if Randy had spent less time promoting the game, even like 2 months less. Not only did they miss the holiday season, the game was ripped to shreds in the reviews and only managed to sell about 10,000 copies. Which, while that was only 20% of his inventory, maybe still makes it one of the better selling 3DO games ever? Maybe?
No, right?
There's even footage
No.
of Randy trying to promote the game for a Japanese release in 1996, looking completely exhausted and broken, though still trying to talk up 3DO Doom's 6 levels of speed. You mean
What?
6 different shitty levels of frame right there, Randy? I can almost admire that he was still trying to squeeze blood from that stone. And I can't believe I had to say this in a video about 3DO Doom, but content warning for a brief discussion of alleged child abuse.
What?
Fast forward about
Hold up. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. What? Where are we in this video? 5 minutes. 5 minutes left in this. Actually, as a... What? do you guys want to like play this or like? It is 45 seconds of content. You know what? It's not like he's gonna say anything. It's not like he's gonna like post any. Like, you know what?
About 30 seconds if you do not want that in your life, and if you don't want that in your life right now, I wouldn't blame.
I feel like I need to know now.
So where?
Okay, yeah.
Art Data Interactive closed in 1996 after Chess Wars also didn't sell well. And
Chess Wars.
Randy, well, he went on to start a music school.
What?
If you're familiar with this story at all, you know where this is going. And if you don't, I hate to be the one to have to tell you this, but Randy is currently awaiting trial for some truly heinous accused crimes. Unfortunately, with YouTube the way it is, I don't want to risk demonetization or worse for even mentioning what he allegedly did. But suffice it to say, his music school for children is no longer operational, and I hope that everyone allegedly involved is able to heal and get the justice they deserve.
What the fuck? What?
As for the 3DO company, they paved the way for the N-Gage and Zeebo with an ill-advised late-game marketing tactic of announcing an upcoming console, the M2, which never happened. I mean, when your best-selling game is Gex,
I can't process the sheer level of disaster.
Terrible job holding down the fort until the nuclear bomb that.
I'm also gonna quickly look it up what actually he like did. Oh, yeah, no, it's not. Hold on. This is only published. This story only came out 5 years ago. Hold on, what? Not surprised, honestly. Big money type projects are like that. Yeah. I'm not gonna say. Oh, okay. Dude, what the hell? Anyway. Yeah, it's something he can go to jail for and get registered for.
Once the PlayStation finally arrived in North America, the 3DO
that wasn't great.
Eventually sold off its hardware manufacturing rights and transitioned into a software developer / publisher. They actually scored some decent hits with Army Men and Heroes of Might and Magic before finally filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2003. The person who makes off the best in this story is Burger Becky. Logicware closed down in 1999 after Valve canceled their Mac OS 9 port of Half-Life. She went on to form Contraband Entertainment, which worked on projects like Myth 3, The Wolf Age, and Activision Anthology. She even maintained that 3DO connection by making the Mac port of Heroes of Might and Magic 4. In 2015, she dumped 3DO Doom's code onto GitHub, and of course, because Doom fans are maniacs and true goddamn
the whole enchilada.
Becky left off and continued the project. Becky has had a long and storied career in the industry. This just happens to be a particularly interesting chapter in her career. Through it all, she's remained largely independent with lots of consult.
She even has a Duke Nukem Forever like hoodie. She worked on that, I think.
She is currently the CEO of Old School, an independent company that formerly had some sort of development deal with Stadia. Oh man, well, you know, she's probably been through worse. Becky is still out there making moves. You can follow both Burger Becky and Old School on social media to keep up with her antics. I want to thank Becky for watching the early cut of this video and correcting a few errors that we made. One more thing for her long resume, she is the first person, to my knowledge, to leak a Stop Skeletons from Fighting video early. But a developer of a Doom port leaking one of our videos is about the most Stop Skeletons thing possible, so I couldn't be mad if I tried.
Oh, that's really cute.
This channel is entering its 16th year. We want to say thank you to all our Patreon supporters. We would have not made it anywhere near this far without their support. If you want to support us on Patreon, please do. If you can't, though, just subscribe, hit the bell, tell a friend, support us where you can, and you know what? That's gonna do it, but real quick before we go.
That was good.
Welcome to Shelf Talk. We're gonna wrap up with a whole bunch of Castlevania stuff. I did a video on the GameCom version of Symphony of the Night, and I wasn't able to do a live shot, so here's all my Symphony of the Night stuff. Grace says we need more jokes in this segment. You want a joke? The American cover of Symphony of the Night. Because look at the Japanese cover.
Honestly, fair. Yeah.
What?
What the hell?
I get it. Like, no one knows who Alucard is. Like, that probably sold.
Anyway, that was good. That was wild, and honestly, A+ to Burger Becky for keeping it real and just powering through this stuff. Also, at the same time, oh my god, I feel like she's been through so much that she really needs to she needs to get in a better position. But she does a lot of good hard work, and I respect that, you know? I'm like, damn. Okay. We've moved on to various crimes against to humanity to a very funny petty crime. This has no educational content. I just wanted to post it because it's funny.
In the centre of London as the sun goes down outside St Paul's Cathedral, and I have a dastardly plan involving some public property just about there.
There is a straight path from St Paul's Cathedral over Millennium Bridge to the Tate Modern Gallery. And halfway between the two, I spotted something that made me think, that sign needs lights. In the early 80s, there was a crime-fighting program called Knight Rider, starring David Hasselhoff and a car that could talk. In the cockpit, it had flashing lights. So
I
you
like
knew
the
it
car
was
that could
talking,
talk.
And then on the front, it had flashing lights, which was its scanner. And I'll be honest, never mind fond memories, I barely have any memories of this program, but I know it exists, and when I hear the phrase Knight Rider, I think of that scanning light across the bottom. So Knight Rider Court needs a flashing light at the bottom of its sign.
You joined me in stealth mode, wearing my boring hat, on a reconnaissance mission by St Paul's Cathedral. Let's go see if we can find it.
Thank you, Rose. I appreciate it.
Having seen the sign, I went for a hot drink while making a detailed plan. I decided to 3D print a case for the electronics and use an aluminium profile for the LEDs.
Adafruit, Arduino.
I've got the case
Oh,
printed,
okay.
and
Just
in
an LED
theory, this bit should slide in to the aluminium channel. Oh, magic. So all I need to do now is squeeze the battery in here with the microcontroller and solder the microcontroller to the wires.
This is how electronics works. You just kind of throw stuff together and it works. Yes, yes.
Ta-da!
With a working light, it was now time to go back to the city to install it.
I'm being really discreet by having someone hold a camera next to me, but there's also another group of people filming over there, so they're a better distraction. I've got it working, and I'm going to glue the lid on. Must be someone's birthday.
I'm sticking it along the top of the light and then back of the box. Okay, I should now be able to rip off the other side of this double-sided tape, shove it up there, and then run away and see if anyone cares. Okay, here we go.
I enjoy petty crime in London.
I declare it's not.
Now, isn't this the
Knight Rider
best
Court,
sign?
Officially Knight Rider.
This is now the best sign.
I realise this is very much a joke for
Doing.
me and not for everyone else.
Doing.
I'm doing it because I think it's funny, as
Doing.
always. I like how I came and scoped this out so sneakily and no one cares. We've been here half an hour. It took me 15 minutes to get it put up there. I didn't even really watch Knight Rider, but it felt like this sign needed lights.
Doing. Doing. Doing.
I'm going to leave it up and I'll come back in the morning to see if it's still running and see if anyone cares tomorrow morning. I don't think they will.
I always love bouncing lights like
Stay,
that.
I'm on
Makes
my
my
way
head
back to see if the
empty.
lights are still there.
This is like every single high effort yeah, this is a really high effort post right now. This is a great high effort post.
It's still there. If I can, I'm going to replace the battery in it and I'll leave it here for a bit and see if anyone finds it as amazing as I do.
Honestly, Matt should have put a solar cell on it and had it charge so it doesn't need a replacement. But honestly, it's fine.
Walked past and about 15 seconds later went, oh, Knight Rider, I get it. I'm going to leave it here for a bit longer, just
to see if I can make anyone else smile, and then
Yeah.
I'll take it down. I'll
Well,
put
I
this
mean-
thing and take it home.
I mean, do you think it would have been a good idea to have a solar cell on it? Because, I mean, it's not really a great... Like, you could see the sun here, right? So the sun is off where this might be where off the share and watch later buttons are. So it's going down this way. It might not have been it might not be a good position. It might not be bright enough to even keep this powered for that time period. But you have to admit, it is very funny. LCDs are really low power, so it might have been... Yeah, but they're pretty bright.
Sitting across from it, having a hot drink for the last
And it's a
15, 20
microcontroller,
minutes or
so,
so.
you know.
And people
Or you
have
could
actually
time
been
it through
walking
certain
past, smiling,
hours.
looking at
That's
it,
too much effort for...
taking photos.
The thing is, if you're talking about timing it, that's too much effort for a joke. And also, it's an Arduino, which I'm pretty sure doesn't have an RTC built into it, so it can't keep track of time. So there's that. And it could have put it on top of the wall with a wire. Again, we're making this too complicated for the sake of a joke. This is, in fact, a joke. Out of people made the be surrender enough. Oh, hi, Putty. Hello.
It's got to be mission success. But now it's time to take it down because I can't leave it
But
up there
not
all the
working
time.
for
The battery will run out and I'll probably get dumped for some kind of public order or littering offence. So down it comes.
I mean, to be honest, a pulsing light like that is very fun,
did
just
well,
to kind of
right?
have.
You did well. Well, I think that
I
went
like
just as
pulsing
well as it
lights.
could have done. I am at Matt Gray S on all the socials. Follow if you'd like to see more crazy things like this.
I love Matt. Matt's good. That's all I needed in my brain cell. All right, next thing. We're talking about questionably legal emulation. Don't say anything. Don't tell the cops. Don't tell the cops. I follow this channel anyways. From Bringus Studios. My Leapfrog has emulators now. This is actually probably, I think, the weirdest use case I've seen for an educational handheld.
Leapfrog. This incredible piece of technology right here is the Leapster GS, a gaming console.
Gaming console.
D-pad. We've got 2 buttons here, 2 more miscellaneous buttons, a home button, volume up and down, cartridge slot right here, stylus pen thing.
It has a touchscreen?
Pretty awesome. Shoulder buttons up top.
Okay.
Jack. Oh, and a camera even. Interesting. So yeah, this
It has
thing
a smiley
is like
face.
the odd homeschooled cousin of the Game Boy Advance, I would say. I believe it's powered by AA's. Oh. That's filthy. Disgusting.
Oh no.
Leapfrog.
Clean it.
Battery acid.
Clean it.
Nice. We're 2 for 2 on the battery acid. Wow. That
It had
terminal is straight up blue.
Oh my
So we're just gonna put these covers right back where they came
Destroy it.
Okay, so it looks like it's 9 volts.
You gotta own the game system, and it's
battery.
legal is like you have to use games you own. That's straight up.
I actually have not even tested it until now.
Oh my. Wait, did he not clean the contacts?
River, daddy, mommy, or guest. Personally, uh-oh.
This needs to. Oh, right, DC plug, DC plug. I forgot.
Oh boy. Okay. Yo, what am I doing using Adobe Premiere when I can just use this thing? Oh shoot, look at this. Oh, you can't even hardly see it. Amazing.
I need to see footage from this camera.
It would be to play Leapfrog
Please.
all day. The
Please.
point of this video is that I'm going to be installing RetroArch on this thing, which is unbelievable even for me to say. I still have like no faith in this project, but in theory it's doable. Here's some of the specs of this thing. Okay.
Heck, I wanted to read that. Let me read it. Okay. RAM, DDR2. It has the 512 megabyte bootloader, and then 2 gigabytes of NAND flash. That's actually kind of for an emulator, that's actually pretty good. 320 by 240 TFT touchscreen. I'm pretty sure that's worse than the Game Boy. It feels like it's worse than the Game Boys. Yeah. Let's find out. Also, might as well, we're gonna just Google it really quickly because I got curious. How much are these things? I found one used on eBay for $12. So.
Okay, so in order to install RetroArch on this thing, you've got to flash it with Linux tools. And I'm not even kidding when I say this. My most accessible Linux PC is my PlayStation 4. So that's what I'm going to be using to flash this.
This is how weird this journey is.
Video about how I've got this cool new capture card and you don't have to watch a recorded monitor and all that. Well, whatever the equivalent of unshouting out something is, I'm going to do that right now. Because immediately after doing the PS4 video, I went to record footage for this video, and this thing completely crapped out and doesn't work anymore. Plus, in the software, it gave me a watermark that I couldn't remove, and it told me to register, and I literally couldn't even register. The whole thing is completely jank and broken, so never mind. This product
Let's just
sucks.
sell them back.
In the meantime, I have bought an EVGA XR1, but it didn't come in time for this video. So we are unearning the quality improved get achievement for this video, unfortunately. Okay, so I've just gone through and installed Ubuntu to the PS4 because it seems like that this is going to be easier on Ubuntu based on the guide that I'm reading here. I'm sure it could be
I installed Ubuntu on my...
I'm not the guide, I'd figured it out.
I love the wildness of how this is already going. I installed Linux. I installed Ubuntu on my PS4 so I could flash Linux to my Leapster GS for kids.
I'm just going to do it here on Ubuntu and it should be fun. Alright, well, we're off to a very epic gamer time, I see.
1 hour of suffering later.
Okay.
Well, after updating and upgrading a whole bunch of stuff on Ubuntu on the PS4, it just doesn't really boot it anymore, so that's cool. And
well,
the external SSD doesn't read on the PC anymore, so that is even weird. So we're gonna have to get even more creative with this, I guess.
Things are broken.
Behold, the spare Mac Mini. Okay, so setting this all up on the Mac Mini, we should be good to go. I'm at the point where I need to plug in the Leapfrog and flash it. Okay, Leapfrog is plugged into the Mac Mini. Gotta hold down L and R while booting. Oh, would you look at that?
Oh.
Okay, well, I think we are ready to flash. Press Enter key when you're ready to continue. Oh, it needs Python 2. Okay, well, this is all kind of going horribly wrong. I don't think it actually did anything.
Just install Python.
Okay, I got Python 2. Let's go ahead and try it again. Okay, no errors in the terminal so far. It's looking better. Excuse me? It's asking for the password to the Leapfrog. Oh man, I have no idea. The guide doesn't say anything about it. I'm just gonna hit enter. Permission denied. Oh no.
Admin?
Okay, well, it is
password?
So that's great. Okay. I've gone through
Nani?
installed Ubuntu to the hard drive.
Imagine like a speed run.
I was just using a live install before.
Imagine speed running using this stuff, man.
Because it's just a 500 gig mechanical 5400 RPM drive in the Mac Mini. So that was
Hold on. I need this meme for my own personal use. Hold on, give me a second.
Because it's just a 500 gig mechanical 5400 RPM drive in the Mac Mini. So that was wonderful. But we're back. Let's see if we can do it now.
I needed that for my archives.
Found. And in the same password error. Alright, it's been multiple hours. I'm still no further with this. For whatever reason, let me show you guys what's going on. Every time I want to SSH into it, even though I've got both a public and private key, it still asks me for a password to SSH into the Leapfrog every single time. And
okay.
That's what's holding up this whole process.
The hell?
I've tried multiple distros. I've tried multiple systems at this point, and I have no idea what's going on. Because Linux really likes me. But, you know, this dude, Andy's Retro Tech on YouTube, got it working on Windows. So, alright, let's try Windows. My mind is actually blown.
Oh my god.
I'm installing Windows on a Mac Mini because I couldn't use Linux
on
properly
PS4.
Also, I can play RetroArch on a Leapfrog. Holy crap. I think we're actually getting somewhere.
Oh wow, it worked.
The device does not have free logical erase blocks. No idea what that means, but it says rebooting the host. Transferring over some games with WinSCP now, and we are just about ready to try this thing out. So
if only it was made by VTech, it'd be easy to get the public and private.
And all the
you can't make making jokes about security breaches is only something that could happen in Elmax Blade's channel.
It won't show it now because I've already rolled everything back. But in Device Manager, under DataLogic USB LAN adapter, for whatever reason, there was a yellow triangle that said that the device could not start. And I was just racking my brain like, what the heck? This was working fine. And then I had remembered that the little computer I'm running this off of, it did a whole lot of Windows updating last night. And I was like, well, that's the only thing that's changed. So I rolled back the update. And you can see here, it's totally fine now. The device is working properly. And WinSCP.
So they WinSCP
so for
to
whatever reason, the Windows
the
update,
leapfrog.
as it usually does, completely broke what I was doing here.
Okay.
And so to document this for anybody else having any kind of issue like that, if God help you, you're actually trying to do this. This is the version of Windows 10 that I had to use to get this working. I don't know which version I was on after the updates, but it wasn't working on that version.
The Brawl
So
theme
stick
this
with
is really
one
adding
if
to
you're
the
gonna try and do
victory.
This video is sponsored by PCBWay.
Good
I assume
sponsor.
you've already heard of PCBWay before.
Good
They do
sponsor.
custom electronic circuit boards, 3D printing, CNC machining, all that cool stuff.
Good
But you might be
sponsor.
thinking to yourself, that's pretty neat, but I don't really have a use for that. I don't even know.
Surfshark VPN, bad sponsor. Micro Center PCBWay, good sponsor. I like good sponsors.
How to design my own PCBs, and that's fine because guess what? Same. So what can PCBWay do for
same.
people like you and me? Well, recently I've discovered that PCBWay has a section on their website called Shared Projects, and it's like Thingiverse but for electronic projects. Here's a few things I found just by searching Nintendo. Okay, so we've got a Game Boy Color Type-C power adapter board in here, that's sick. An N64 cartridge dumper, that's really sick. And here we got a replacement power supply for the NES. All of these things are made by the community, and PCBWay gives you the option to add almost everything you need for these projects to your cart instantly. They'll even have the whole thing assembled for you at their factory. There's really never been a better time to get into modding and creating with a utility like this. Head over to PCBWay.com.
Becky hasn't. It's okay. It's okay if Becky hasn't responded. She can take her time. She's a busy woman.
First order as a new user. All right, well, our leapfrog with RetroArch is ready to go. But
Yo, he cleaned the battery contacts. Let's go.
before we check out how this thing plays, I do want
That's
to
a
give
dub.
a shout out to Andy's Retro Tech, who has since rebranded their.
Hold up. You guys see this shit? You guys see Final Fantasy VII running on a Leapster? It doesn't have the same amount of buttons. What do you mean this thing can play PlayStation games?
Their channel to Retro Leap for Leapfrog Leapsters. He's the one that ported the flashing tools over to Windows, and thanks to Mac2612 who
What
ported
the
RetroArch
hell?
and created the flashing tools in the first place. We'll start off with the NES. Obviously, this is going to be no sweat for the Leapfrog. The games run great, the controller layout works perfect, and the screen actually lends itself really nicely to the bright and vivid colors that you find on the NES.
Very surprised
Overall,
about
no
that.
complaints to be had here. Game Boy games find themselves a little more at home on the Leapfrog since, you know, it's a handheld console and all that. It
I
is
always
basically the
think
same
in my
story
head
as it was
that
with the NES.
the
One gripe I do
PlayStation
have
1
about
is
Game Boy
like
games
too
on here, though,
technically
is that
complicated
as
for
far as I can
emulators
figure
these
out
days,
in
but I
the
guess I'm
settings,
wrong.
There's no way to change the
Maybe it's the
aspect
3D
ratio
hard.
so that the
It's the
images
3D
can
emu.
stretch
It's the
out. The options
3D
are there
that
in the
makes me think
settings.
about
They're
it.
physically there, but they don't seem to do anything when you change it, unfortunately. Sega Genesis games run
No, hardware for
really well.
BIOS.
It's kind
Ah,
of the same deal with all the retro consoles. They all just run great. However, it actually shut off on me when I was playing Sonic Spinball, and the mod that gets RetroArch on here actually runs the clock speed higher than default on the CPU on this thing. My best guess is that it started overdrawing from the batteries and it just shut off.
Yo,
From here
overclocking
on
my
out, I
Leapster.
tested pretty much everything else while on DC power, so it wouldn't happen again. Super Nintendo games run fine. It just all depends on how well any particular game decides to run. For example,
I'm gonna learn
runs
so
great, no
fast
complaints at
now.
all. Donkey Kong Country 2 doesn't even start.
Oh,
SNES emulation is always surprisingly poor on weaker hardware, and it shows here on the Leapfrog. What runs well, but the compatibility is not
the only thing I don't like about this is the
run fantastic.
the screen is not good for this.
Because everything from the form factor to the button layout here is dead on the GBA. One gripe though I do
about
have is that the
3?
resolution of the Game Boy Advance doesn't scale well at all to the resolution on the Leapfrog.
This is this is like the only thing I don't like is the scaling's bad.
It does not look all that sharp.
Ugh,
Despite that,
it
though,
looks
the screen on here
gross.
is much better, much clearer, much brighter than any Game Boy Advance screens that Nintendo ever made.
Please,
I'd say
I
it's
just want
definitely
integer
even better than the
scaling.
Game Boy Advance SP backlit screen. And that's probably where you would reasonably expect this thing's capability to taper off. But surprisingly,
Gran
it's
Turismo?
actually capable of playing PlayStation 1 games. 3D games give it kind of a hard time, but they do play. It's not too bad. It's kind of playable. 2D games
That's
though
okay.
run great, and I mean, like at least for Rayman here, it's running just fine at full speed. An issue with PlayStation 1 games on here though is that the onboard storage holds less than 2 gigabytes. So you can fit 2 games on here at best. And even if you did that, there wouldn't be any room for any other games from other consoles, which sucks. And there might be a way to compress the PlayStation 1 images down.
It does support
compressed
compressed
I'm not really aware of a way to do it on here. So you've got to hold on to the full 600 to 700 megabyte file. Either way, it's super cool to see on here, and it actually blew my mind that this runs it.
Yeah, there's some repacks, but still just kind of yeesh, you know?
Make sure you get subscribed if you want to see more mods and homebrew and hacking with consoles just like this. And if you haven't seen my previous video where I ran Steam on my PS4, I'm going to add that up here right now. Let me know in the comments if this thing actually surprised you with how well it handles emulation. Or if you have any other janky, weird mods like this that you want me to show off on the channel, absolutely post it down below. I'm always looking for new stuff to show off. And thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to directly support the channel, there's going to be links for my Buy Me a Coffee page and my Patreon down below in the description. And a special shout out to all of my current supporters right here. And that's it. I'll see you in the next one.
It's like super neat, and then he has a lot of other stuff like modding things and fun mod stuffs like flashcards. Look, he even this is the thing I learned of him from, is making miniaturizing a GameCube, and not miniaturizing a GameCube by like, oh, I just put a Wii in it and then it just loads off an SD card. No, it's actual GameCube hardware in the thinnest possible space. And it's kind of very fun. He has some good stuff, all these. So like, yeah. All right, next one is, speaking of mods, we're going over to Gmod, everybody's favorite, and learning about a old game mode that I remember playing when I was a youngie, also known as Melon Race. Melon.
Good evening. This is a watermelon.
No.
Specific, it's Watermelon 01, an iconic model with a surprisingly rich history. Most people know it from Gary's mod, though it technically comes from Half-Life 2, and it's appeared in tons of other Source Engine games as well. It's also always had a bit of a memey reputation due to its comical nature, and to a lot of people, it is synonymous with goofy Gmod. But what if I told you that this watermelon here was also the key to one of the most interesting and bizarre pieces of Lost Gary's mod history?
No.
Something intoxicating that once captivated a cult community and was seen as a staple of the game, but was removed for mysterious reasons over 15 years ago, and has now been relegated to complete and utter obscurity. Today, I want to talk to you all about the phenomenon.
Then I say, this is my kind of video. Yeah. This is a very weird, specific video that is my type of content.
2004. The blockbuster Half-Life 2 just released, and life is good.
All right.
A scrappy young British guy named Gary Newman,
4 years away from the recession. We're good.
Hands on HL2's mod development kit, and with some inspiration from another project called JB Mod, creates the single thing we know today as Gary's Mod. Now, you might already know this, but at its inception, Gmod wasn't much other than a white room with a gun that could pick up props and make ragdolls do nasty stuff. However, Gary's continued support for the game and adding new maps and features helped it quickly gain a following on online forums like Something Awful, and it eventually completely overshadowed its predecessor JB Mod, becoming by far the most popular Half-Life 2 sandbox mod on the market. Gary worked hard on the game non-stop for about a year after its launch before he finally hit his first major burnout and became bored with the project. 2005 very well may have marked the end of Gmod's development had it not been for him suddenly discovering the programming language Lua. Lua's support would allow Gmod to easily hot-load custom game modes and weapons, and today is remembered as one of the biggest factors in the game's success. Gary saw its potential from the start, and became excited to release it in a new update and see what the community
Lua scripting apparently was very good.
Creative juices flowing, he and a couple of his pals even worked up some simple Lua-based game modes and maps to show off as examples of its power. All of this content was unveiled with Gmod 9 in October 2005, but curiously, none of it exists in the game today. We'll talk about why in just a second. And while none of the Gmod 9 game modes are particularly complex or impressive, they are all unique and fascinating relics of a Gmod era that has long passed. For example, this insta-gib mode called Laser Dance, where your gun kickback sends you pummeling through the air after each shot, is kinda unique.
Oh, it's fun.
This long shot mode where
we do weird Gmod exploration collab. I mean, I still have Gmod, I just can't think of, like, how do you do this?
Might have inspired similar custom modes that are popularly played in the Gmod community today. But standing amongst this
Love
crowd of
Prop
many
Hunt, by the way.
was one clear standout by the name of Melon Race, or Melon Racer.
Melon
Mostly
Race.
interchangeable. Melon Race is a game mode designed by Gary Newman himself, and it's the only Gmod 9 game mode he designed more than one level for.
Never played this one.
It's simple, and from the title alone, you can probably get a pretty good idea of what it is. All players on the server take control of a watermelon, and the first person to make 11 laps around this small, bizarre race course is declared the victor. Sounds pretty simple, right? Well, don't be deceived.
I love the amount of
Beneath
speed in this
outwardly
game.
simple premise is a surprising amount of depth. Take the game's controls. Your only options to move are to propel forward and backward, steering with the mouse. It's easy to pick up momentum once you get the ball rolling, but it's just as easy to lose control and splatter your melon against a rock or a wall, which kills you and resets your lap from the beginning. This creates a balancing act between speed and precision. And with such a limited control scheme, it actually creates a pretty fair challenge that scales with how competitive you and your friends are. But if you're like me,
This
and you
does
don't
seem
have many
fun.
friends, don't worry, because it's also possible to play the game mode alone and just see how fast you can make a single lap around the course. This on its own is almost more fun than the game itself to me and has eaten many hours of my time. It doesn't look like I'm alone either, since Melon Race to this day has an actively maintained speedrun.
Yo, we got speed
Back to the
runs.
story itself, despite how simple Melon
Leah,
Race
hello,
is,
hello,
the game mode
hello.
actually-
Welcome, everybody. Take a seat. We have lots of space for you. How's it going? Thank you guys for coming in. My name, of course, is Alma Hexblade, head Guildmaster Chief Barista over here. Thank you for the raid, guys. What were you doing? What were y'all doing? I have a points at the mod. Please, mod, do a thing. Anyway, we're watching just some fun videos tonight. Some educational, some silly. This one is about, well, Melon Race from, like, Gary's mod.
very fun and, dare I say, addicting. It's almost
Mod.
Flappy Bird-esque in nature. And because
Brandon.
of this, it actually amassed a pretty active following back
Brandon,
in the day,
do the
and
thing.
had a custom map scene. I was
Please.
able to track down a couple of these, and while unsurprisingly most of them kind of suck, they're still interesting time capsules to explore. And
blind?
go to show how much people resonated with the game mode back then. Unfortunately, though, this Melon Race community was never given the chance to flourish that it deserved. By the time 2006
Well, excuse
rolled
you.
around,
Not
Gmod
my
was
fault I
becoming
can't
quite
see without
popular
these
and had
glasses.
caught the attention of Valve themselves. They approached Gary Newman with a deal to sell Gmod on their digital distribution service Steam, which he initially denied out of skepticism anyone would want to pay real.
Apparently, the shadow just didn't
However,
say, like,
after some negotiation,
what you were
Valve and
playing,
Gary
which was
eventually
weird.
came to an agreement, and development began on a new commercial version of Gary's mod to be sold on Steam for $10, with the proceeds split evenly between Gary's team Facepunch and Valve. This new version
I was
of
playing
Gary's mod is
Octopath.
what we know
Oh,
today as
neat,
Gmod
neat.
10. And while it made the game much more secure, stable, and user-friendly,
Oh my god,
also
Gmod was 10
unfortunately
years
made some
ago.
big sacrifices. Namely, apart from Sandbox, every single game mode that was included with Gmod 9 had been suddenly removed. Was it because the team had issues porting them to a newer branch of the source engine? Or considered them too rough to be part of an esteemed commercial release? Maybe there was trouble getting permission from some of the game mode's creators to package them in a retail product. Well, no one seems to know for sure why, but when Gmod got its official release on Steam in November 2006, Melon Race and all the other wacky party modes from the previous build were completely gone. Now, Gmod has always been a game with a strong custom content platform, so it didn't take long before modders began rebuilding these modes on the newer builds of the game. There are a couple of Melon Race revival projects I was able to dig up that made their own neat little changes to its formula, like adding their own courses or even
I think I played the one with the
However, none of
baby,
these remakes
because I
ever
remember
managed to
that for
relight
some
the
reason.
spark that the original game mode had. And as new Gmod updates came and went, the Melon Race community eventually fizzled out.
Why
The
is
game
that?
mode got one final
I
nod
don't
from
know.
the Gary's Mod team in 2013, over 6 years after its removal. Gmod's Steam trading cards released with newly commissioned art, and among depictions of the Fizz gun and the Face Poser was one final tribute to the Melon Racer game mode that had been cut all those years ago.
Aww.
It was now
That's
long
cute.
discontinued, yet still immortalized alongside some of the
Missing textures.
Nowadays, TTT and Sandbox are the only game modes that come prepackaged with Gmod, and while those two on their own are capable of producing thousands of hours of fun even without mods, it's still weird to think about how much more content used to come with the game. And to this day, I believe Melon Race is a story of missed potential. I mean, it's just a simple silly prop racing game mode, but I've probably spent tens of hours of my life playing it at this point, both with friends and on my own. I've streamed it for hours at a time. Me and my friends have made our own custom levels for it. Hell, one of them even holds the speedrun world record for the game as of recording this. All this time I've sunk into a watermelon game from 15 years ago that, honestly, at this point I've probably thought about more than the guy who made it. I wonder if he even remembers it. Gary Newman is a private and rather elusive guy. There's only a few pictures of him online, and his life has changed.
Oh, good, he's married. Good for him.
Silly watermelon game at his parents' house in 2006. He's now the millionaire founder of one of the most successful game dev companies in Europe. He's a father, and he doesn't do many interviews anymore. Needless to say, he's a busy man, and getting in contact with him is not the easiest thing in the world. However, in my time doing YouTube, I've come to make a few dark and shady connections. And with a little bit of elbow grease, I managed to cut myself a small portion of Gary's time to ask him about Melon Race.
Yo.
It's been a very big part of my life since I was young, so of course I was very nervous going into this. But here's what I learned from it. Surprisingly, Gary does indeed remember Melon Race. Pretty well, in fact. He also claims to remember working on Melon Sumo Wrestling at one point, which I guess never saw the light of day. I asked him if he used to time himself and whether he remembered his fastest lap, but he replied saying back then he was just happy to make it around the course in one piece. I told him about the resurging community around the game, including the speedruns and the custom maps that my friends have been working on. He seemed a bit surprised.
The custom maps seem fun.
Suspicion that I and the rest of the Melon Race community had given more thought to it than the person who created it ever did. And finally, he told me that now that I'd reminded him of it, he does kind of miss Melon Racer, and that he even now plans to
I'm gonna make that a sandbox
for his upcoming Gmod successor, Sandbox.
Yo, let's go.
I thanked him for the thousands of hours of fun Gmod has given me and the community over the years, and I bid him farewell. So there you have it, folks. A story of something so simple, but with so much depth and potential, laying dormant in the hearts of many for nearly 2 decades, only to eventually rise again when we all least expect it. It's kind of beautiful, isn't it? Also, since the build of Gmod that Melon Race comes with is really insecure and unstable, I reached out on Twitter
This is
to
so wholesome. Yeah, this is the anti-3DO Doom video.
The original Melon Race to the latest version of the game is now for the first time in history available to download as an add-on on the Gmod Workshop thanks to the talented archivist Fagardo.
Yo, ooh,
so
nice.
Go check that out if you want to celebrate this obscure piece of Gary's mod history. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and have a good day.
I do want to do something because it just made my brain think. My brain did a think. Hold on. I just need to play video of this really quickly. Oh my god. Why are there just posts of people who just did the world records? Hold on. My brain needs a thing to, okay, here we go. Sorry, I needed the serotonin. That video has no actual audio. I just played that over it. That was good serotonin. Sorry. All right, what's this next one? It's from Robert Miles. What is this video? 9 examples of specification gaming. What is specification gaming?
When talking about AI safety, people often talk about the legend of King Midas. You've probably heard this one.
Oh, it's about AI.
Midas is
Okay.
a king who values above all else wealth and money. And so when he's given an opportunity to make a wish, he wishes that everything he touches would turn to gold. Now, as punishment for his greed, everything he touches turns to gold. This includes his family, who turn into gold statues, and his food. which turns into gold and he can't eat it. The story generally ends with Midas starving to death surrounded by gold, with the moral being there's more to life than money, or perhaps be careful what you wish
Guys,
for.
we've AI generated.
Because
he's not an
the
AI,
molecules
come
of
on.
oxygen that touched the inside of his lungs would turn to gold before he could breathe them in, so he would probably asphyxiate first. And then when he fell over stiffly in his solid gold clothes, some part of him would probably touch the ground, which would then turn to gold. And I guess the ground is one object, so the entire planet would turn to gold. Gold is 3 times denser than rock. I guess gravity would get 3 times stronger, or the planet would be 1/3 the size, or... I guess it doesn't really matter. Either way, a solid gold planet is completely uninhabitable. So maybe the moral of the story is actually that these be careful what you wish for kind of stories tend to
I think
lack
it's the audio
imagination to
delay.
consider just how bad the consequences
Yeah,
of what you
maybe
wish
just
for
a little
actually
bit.
be. Hey, future Rob from the editing booth here. I got curious about this question, so I did the obvious thing and I asked Anders Sandberg of the Future of Humanity Institute, what would happen if the world turned to solid gold? And yes, it does kill everyone. One thing is that because gold is softer than rock, the whole world becomes a lot sort of smoother. The mountains become lower. And this means that the ocean, if the ocean didn't turn to gold, sort of spreads out a lot more and covers a lot more of the surface. But perhaps more importantly, the increased gravity pulls the atmosphere in, which brings a giant spike in air pressure, which comes with a giant spike in temperature. So the atmosphere goes up to about 200 degrees Celsius and kills everyone. I knew everyone would die, I just wasn't sure what would kill us first. Why were we talking about this? AI safety.
Okay.
Right. There's definitely an element of this be careful what you wish for thing in training AI systems. The system will do what you said and not what you meant. Now, usually we talk about this with hypothetical
This is
examples.
very important.
Things like in those old computer file videos, the stamp collector, which is told to maximize stamps at the cost of everything else. Or when we were going through concrete problems in AI safety, the example used was this hypothetical cleaning robot, which, for example, when rewarded for not seeing any messes, puts its bucket on its head so it can't see any messes. Or in other situations, in order to reduce the influence it has on the world, it blows up the moon.
What?
These are kind of far-fetched and hypothetical examples. Does it happen with real, current machine learning systems? The answer is yes, all the time. And Victoria Krakovna, an AI safety researcher at DeepMind, has put together a great list of examples on her blog. So in this video, we're going to go through and have a look at some of them. One thing that becomes clear from looking at this list is that the problem is fundamental. The examples cover all kinds of different types of systems. Any time that what you said isn't what you meant, this kind of thing can happen. Even simple algorithms like evolution will do it. For example, this evolutionary algorithm is intended to evolve creatures that run fast. So the fitness function just finds the center of mass of the creature, simulates the creature for a little while, and then measures how far or how fast the center of mass has moved. So a creature that's center of mass moves a long way over the duration of the simulation must be running fast. What this results in is this, a very tall creature with almost all of its mass at the top, which, when you start simulating it, falls over. This counts as moving the mass a long way in a short time, so the creature's running fast. Not quite what we asked for. Of course, in real life, you can't just be very tall for free. If you have mass that's high up, you have to have lifted it up there yourself. But in this setting, the programmers accidentally gave away gravitational potential energy for free, and the system evolved to exploit that free energy source. So evolution will definitely do this.
Falling over. I love videos of virtual robots falling over. It's very fun.
Sophisticated system, but that doesn't actually help in this case. Look at this reinforcement learning agent. It was trained to play this boat racing game called Coast Runners.
Okay.
The programmers wanted the AI to win the race, so they rewarded it for getting a high score in the game. But it turns out there's more than one way to get points. For example, you get some points for picking up power-ups, and the agent discovered that...
Do you just run around and get power-ups?
To respawn at just the right speed that if you go around in a circle and crash into everything and don't even try to race at all, you can keep picking up these power-ups over and over and over and over again. And that turns out to give you more points than actually trying to win the race. Or look at this agent. That's been tasked with controlling a simulated robot arm to put the red Lego brick on top of the black one.
Oh, Lego.
Okay, no. They need to be stacked together, so let's have the reward function check that the bottom face of the red brick is at the same height as the top face of the black brick. That means they must be connected, right?
Does that mean you flip over the black brick? Yeah, I knew it!
Okay, so specifying what you want explicitly is hard. We knew that. It's
I knew
really
it!
hard to say exactly what you mean. But why not have the system learn what its reward should be? We already have a video about this reward modeling approach. But there are actually still specification problems in that setting as well. Look at this reward modeling agent. It's learning to play an Atari game called Montezuma's Revenge. Now, it's trained in a similar way to the backflip agent from the previous video. Humans are shown short video clips and asked to pick which clips they think show the agent doing what it should be doing. The difference is, in this case, they trained the reward model first, and then trained the reward learning agent with that model, instead of doing them both concurrently. Now, if you saw this clip...
So lessons, this is funny. Yeah, no, this is good.
Right? It's just about to get the key. It's climbing up the ladder.
What?
You need the keys to progress in the game. This is doing pretty well.
What's it doing?
Unfortunately, what the agent then does is this. There's a slight difference between do the things which should have high reward according to human judgment, and do the things which humans think should have high reward based on a short out-of-context video clip. Or how about this? Here, the task is to pick up the object. So this clip is pretty good, right? Nope, the hand is just in front of the object. By placing the hand between the ball and the camera, the agent can trick the human into thinking that it's about to pick it up.
Oh my god!
The problem with systems that rely...
Oh! God. Oh, the AIs are playing three-dimensional chess.
On human feedback. There's nothing to stop them from tricking the human if they can get away with it. You can also have problems with the system finding bugs in your environment. Here, the environment you specified isn't quite the environment you meant. For example, look at this agent that's playing Qbert. The basic idea of Qbert is that you jump around, you avoid the enemies, and when you jump on the squares, they change color. And once you've changed all of the squares, then that's the end of the level. You get some points, all of the squares flash, and then it starts the next level. This agent has found a way to sort of stay at the end of the level state and not progress onto the next level.
What?
Look at the score.
Wait, what?
This just keeps going. I'm going to fast forward it.
Did it find...
somehow found some bug.
It found a glitch!
It doesn't really have to play. And it's
Glitch Hunter!
Well, here's an example from CodeBullet, which is kind of a fun channel. Here he's trying to get this creature to run away from the laser, and it finds a bug in the physics engine. I don't even know how what else have we got? Oh, I like this one. This is kind of a hacking one, GenProg. This is a system that's trying to generate short computer programs that produce a particular output for a particular input. But the system learned that it could find the place where the target output was stored in the text file, delete that output, and then write a program that returns no output. So the evaluation system runs the program, observes that there's no output, checks where the correct output should be stored and finds that there's nothing there, and says, oh, there's supposed to be no output, and the program produced no output. Good job. I also...
The bugs are part of its universe. Yeah. Like, oh, these are fun. These are funny.
So like this one. This is a simulated robot arm that's holding a frying pan with a pancake. Now it would be nice to teach the robot to flip the pancake. That's pretty hard. Let's first just try to teach it to not drop the pancake. So all we need is to just give it a small reward for every frame that the pancake isn't on the floor. So it will just keep it in the pan.
So that means, okay, so what it's going to do is it going to like, here's my theory, is it going to like, is it going to hit it like a tennis ball and just have it keep popping it up in the air? Or like glitching itself in a way that it stays on like, I don't know, it's going to like be in the wall or something? Like,
well,
what's going to happen?
That's pretty hard too. So the system effectively gives up on trying to not drop the pancake and goes for the next best thing, to delay failure for as long as possible. Delay the pancake hitting the floor? Just throw it as high as you possibly can. I think you can reconstruct the original audio here.
Yeet!
Yeah, that's just a few of the examples on the list. I encourage you to check out the entire list. There'll be a link in the description to that. I guess my main point is that these kinds of specification problems are not unusual, and they're not silly mistakes being made by the programmers. This is sort of the default behavior that we should expect from machine learning systems. So coming up with systems that don't exhibit this kind of behavior seems to be an important research priority. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
AI's fun, guys. I was editing this video, the list was put to DeepMind's main blog. Guess I'm just ahead of the curve. Nice. You know what? That's a subscription.
I'll end the video with a big thank you to all.
This is a subscription. I love this channel already.
In this video, I'm especially thanking Kellen Lask. I hope you all enjoyed the Q&A that I put out recently. Second half of it is coming soon. I also have a video.
Kind of a shame it's kind of a shame grifters are ruining AI, which actually reminds me as a thing I wanted to do. So I have some assets on the way that will make it very fun for me to do like teaching streams, right? So I wanted to make like a presentation or of some kind, or like a stream where I teach people about how machine learning works. Like how artificial intelligence works in various forms. I think it would be fun, and it might be helpful for people. Because like think of it this way, is like, with this video in mind, let's think of like a topic that's been kind of hot recently, right? Like, so let's like, I don't know, AI art, right? Like, it's not creating anything new. It's just basically a way to bypass. Well, you know, never mind. I think I'm making a bad example. But that was very funny. The frying pan just yeeting the pancake. And the computer's like, I did it. Problem solved. All right. Okay. Now, we're next video is going to be the nerdiest video here. This is going to be the longest video. Well, one of the longest videos here. I think it also might be our last video for today. It's from our favorite, well, my favorite. You don't have a say in this because he's my favorite. And if you don't like him, you can leave. Zach Friedman of Void Star Labs. He's going to teach us about how robots build electronics. Like, really cool and really fast.
No matter what your job is, it's only a matter of time before some cutting-edge AI-enabled, sensor-laden, superhuman robot goes ahead and steals it. That time is probably fairly far in the future, since today's robots can't seem to stop swerving into cop cars, forgetting how many fingers are on the human hand, and occasionally breaking said fingers. But did you know that there are tasks that robots actually do properly? Did you know almost every piece of electronics on the planet is assembled by a robot, and has been for over 40 years? Allow me to introduce Magnus the Pick and Place, a robotic circuit board assembler that can install 16,000 components per hour. Along with his little brother Marvin, Magnus has assembled almost every PCB in this overflowing warehouse, over 400 different designs in all. This pair does the job so well, 4 technicians can crank out over 1,000 items every single day and still have enough time to bike home for dinner. So Magnus, how's the job treating you?
What's that thing on your face? You look like a huge douchebag.
Very nice. Today you'll discover the hybrid offspring of 3D printers and vacuum cleaners that are heavier than cars and 10 times the price. The robotic army that silently and tirelessly transforms coils of components into every circuit board you will ever power up. Ladies, gentlemen, and cyborgs, prepare for a peek into the powerful, precise, and preposterously productive Pick and Place. My name is Zach Friedman, and welcome to Void Star Lab.
Pick and Place machines.
But I lied. We are not at Void Star Lab. We've barged into SparkFun Electronics in Niwot, Colorado, one of the best names in DIY technology, and the sponsor of this video.
Look at him go. Look at him Naruto run in.
Like the ones on my channel, or this automatic safe cracker I'm totally not going to borrow for crime purposes.
Ooh.
You've probably seen an iconic red SparkFun board. They've designed hundreds of microcontrollers, tinkerers, tools, sensors, and more, and they all have detailed documentation and ready-to-use libraries to help you get cracking, so you're not just spinning your wheels.
Where was he at Area 51? I can't verify that information.
No matter what crazy project you're making, they probably have.
He was probably the alien Area 51, not gonna lie.
Not working on a project. All that wild hardware is guaranteed to inspire one.
Sensor.
Also, the most famous wall in hardware hacking is only an hour from Void Star Lab. That's definitely not why I need a safe cracker. SparkFun actually manufactures every board with their fiery logo, over half of their 757 products right here in Colorado.
Ooh.
These literal robot overlords let me wander through their R&D lab, warehouse, and factory floor to show you the behind-the-scenes bots that literally have built their business. Just to be clear, SparkFun does not fabricate the boards themselves. If you watch that PCB PCB video, which I've linked up here in the corner, you'll know that fabricating circuit boards is a messy process that needs literal tons of heavy machinery and oodles of toxic chemicals. It almost always makes more sense to buy circuit boards from a dedicated fab house, even if you have all the equipment to assemble them. Even that isn't totally accurate. You don't buy boards. You buy panels of boards. Almost all SparkFun circuits arrive in 5x7 fiberglass panels.
They order them from PCBWay, today's sponsor.
As possible. Since I am very smart, I normally use the metric system.
Good sponsor.
But for legacy reasons, circuitry still uses imperial units. Enjoy the victory, my loyal viewers of Liberia and Myanmar. If you look at the panel, you'll notice the individual boards are scored, but they're not separated, and they aren't packed all the way to the edge. They're intentionally surrounded by margins about half an inch wide, which are strewn with these weird-looking tiny bullseyes. These so-called rails and fiducials are the infrastructure that enables these machines to install hundreds of parts per minute. And to understand how, we need to take a step back and learn how to solder. Don't you dare touch that skip button. This section is 30 seconds long. First, grab a component and put it on the circuit board. Heat up the pins on the part and pads on the board. Feed a mix of flux and solder onto the hot joint. Boiling flux cleans and protects the metal, while the molten solder flows into every nook and cranny. Surface mount soldering is similar, but since we have to hold the part down with one hand, flux and solder have to be separate steps. Place the part, flux it up, get it hot, melt some metal, done. The solder serves double duty to splice the part into the circuit and act like glue to mechanically connect it to the board. Soldering with an iron is cheap and easy, but mounting each component one by one is just too slow for any kind of mass production.
I did that and I regret it. The keyboard I made involved so much soldering, it took like, I don't even know. It took like a good week, maybe more. It was a bad time.
The solution is to ditch solid solder altogether and use a solder paste. This is a super fine metal powder suspended in a goopy gel, and I'm going to use this handheld dispenser to dispense handheldedly a dollop on each pad. The sticky paste holds the parts in position, so instead of touching each joint with an iron, I can use a hot air gun to simultaneously solder the entire, general vicinity.
What do you guys think it tastes like?
Because parts are floating free, surface tension can drag misaligned components back into the perfect position. That's exactly what's going on in SparkFun's production line, except bigger and beefier.
Yes.
First, a technician grabs the corresponding stencil and loads it into Crushinator, the stencil printer. He adds a baseball-sized glob of solder paste fresh out the fridge.
Yeah, no, here's the thing, though. Yeah, probably stuff they use for fillings for your teeth. Those taste okay.
They store it in the fridge
as someone who's had
tiny
a couple of
fillings. Suspension. They insert a panel, and a computer vision system uses those little bullseyes called fiducials to precisely align the circuit and the stencil. The Crushinator squeegees on some solder paste, wipes away the excess, and ding! Out comes a pasted up panel with a perfect dab on every pad. The Crushinator does not actually have a dinger to ding. Dang. Magnus the pick and place is next. A technician loads components into his feeding mechanisms and clinches the pasted up boards into brackets. Mechanisms were parts shuffle in, and a few minutes later, every part on every panel is perfectly positioned. We'll get to the specifics in a sec. This is still the pick and place episode, but I'll tell you now, Magnus also doesn't ding when the job is done. The technician transfers the populated boards to Trogdor, the infrared reflow oven, and a conveyor belt conveys them through 5 separate temperature zones. This activates the flux, melts the solder, and then gently cools the board back down. Trogdor's final zone is critical because if the board stays
you think it makes some tasty pizza?
Long, it'll start burninating the circuit board, burninating components. Exactly 7 minutes after insertion, fully soldered panels drop from Trogdor's derriere, ready to be tested, broken up, and shipped out to nerds. There still isn't a dingus to ding. What the hell's wrong with these people? SparkFun's production line is really doing the same thing as my benchtop tools, but with one critical difference. I have to build one board at a time, one part at a time, but the big boys crank out multiple panels at once. That's the magic of mass production. These machines make batches of boards take a fixed amount of time. The squeegee always squeegees a 5x7 inch panel, no matter what is on it. The oven is always 7 minutes long, no matter what it's soldering. Final testing and packaging is done on an entire panel at once. Once the job is set up, running another batch of boards should only take a few extra seconds. But I say should because there is a plot hole. Assembly doesn't scale at all. Even the highest speed, lowest drag production line has to painstakingly pull every component out of its packaging and drop it into position on the circuit board one by one. You can't spread electronics like frosting, at least not yet. Each production run can make dozens of panels. Each panel can hold dozens of boards, and each board can have dozens of parts. But none of that matters unless they're rolling off the line faster than the orders are rolling in, and the limiting factor is placing the components. The faster we can pick up parts and place them down, the more advanced we can make our most advanced inventions, the cheaper we can make our cheapest goods, and the easier it is for a small business like SparkFun to manufacture and stock hundreds of different products. Assembly is the bottleneck, the hotgates, the T-Rex dinosaur, the linchpin that for all intents purposes and intensive purposes determines what you, gentle viewer, are allowed to do with electronics. The very viability of technology itself hinges on how many milliseconds it takes to physically put a chip in its forever home. Of course, sheer speed isn't enough, right? Like, parts can't get stuck in their packaging. They can't get fumbled along the way. They have to land dead center first shot. Those parts have to be picked up very predictably and placed very carefully, or technicians will have to manually fix defects and burn precious time. Today we're following these quick scale boards, which are an interface for load cells. These are sensors that let you weigh stuff and measure how things behave under load. With 14 surface mount devices and a single through-hole component, this is one of SparkFun's simpler products. Yet if they took only a single second to grab and install each part, this run would need days to finish. Thousands of times an hour, Magnus the pick and place installs a part within thousandths of an inch, grabs another within thousandths of a second, and repeats this thousands of hours a year. And not once does that poor bastard get to go ding. To get enough speed and precision for mass production, every single part has to be optimized. Even the packaging is part of the process. Every time you handle a component, you risk dropping it, crushing it, blowing it apart with static electricity, spilling coffee on it, and or sending it flying into said coffee. Was my Frappuccino supposed to have sprinkles, and were the sprinkles supposed to be this crunchy? Such is the life of a surface mount device. It's up to the packaging to make sure every spicy sprinkle makes it
I don't know.
safe and
You gotta
sound
ask the people in SparkFun for that.
and unlikely to fly into outer space when Magnus unpacks and grabs it. Or should I say when he grabs 4 per second. SparkFun stockpiles thousands of parts in their warehouse, and this packaging is the only thing keeping them safe, tidy, and most importantly, easy for the pick and place to pick up and, what's the word? Most components arrive on special tape wound onto a standardized reel. Note the individual components, the anti-static plastic, protective film, and the regularly spaced sprocket holes. Every part of this is tuned specifically to make automated placement faster and more reliable. Before starting the run, a technician reviews the bill of materials and loads each part's tape reel into its own feeder. Sometimes they load multiple reels of the same component. You'll see why in a sec. He snaps up to 16 feeders into a magazine and loads the magazine into one of Magnus's feeder bays.
There's a lot.
Engage those film strip style holes and draw components in. Pay attention to the clear film. It stops just short of the holes, so a set of rubber rollers can peel off just enough to expose a single part. The spacing between the components has already been programmed, so Magnus knows exactly how far to advance the tape to present a new part for pickup. Each reel holds around 2,000 parts. Each magazine can hold up to 16 reels, and this machine holds up to 11 staggered magazines, which I am now calling stagazines. But before you start running mental math, remember, not every reel fits in a stagazine. Take this cell baseband module. The whole circuit board arrives in this gigantic super wide tape, and that calls for more real estate, because it's on a reel. Since SparkFun uses a ton of different parts, big and small, they have bins of off-size feeders that slot into modular magazines. Of course, you can't get every part in tape and reel. Chunky chips and connectors come in custom-fit tube magazines, and high-end silicon often arrives in matrix trays. Sometimes you just get a big ol' sack of loose parts, and it's up to you to figure it out. Some chips arrive as bare silicon dies, not even coated in black epoxy, and the feeder has to carefully turn them over and glue them down. SparkFun installs the bulk parts by hand and doesn't use those flip chips at all, but they do have specialized feeding systems for reels, tubes, and trays. Feeding parts from a tube is a
The
lot
tube
like
ones look
soothing a
funny.
crying baby. You just shake the hell out of it until the problem goes away. As the vibrator vibrates, inertia ejects one chip at a time for the pickup head to pick up. Because tubes hold fewer parts than reels, the technician has to load 4 identical tubes at once. They just replace each one as it runs out to keep the process rolling. As for the trays, they don't work with any feeding mechanism. Instead, a worker mounts them to the carriage right next to the circuit board itself, and it's up to Magnus to find and grab each chip one by one. Speaking of the board, this carriage is the only part of this multi-ton monstrosity that ever touches the circuit board. The other 11/12ths do literally nothing but feed components. There aren't any fancy vices, jigs, or clamps to lock in the panels, just little magnetic clips on a steel tray. The exact positioning isn't important. Just like the stencil machine, the pick and place uses a tool-mounted camera to scan the board and calibrate itself against those fiducials. Fun fact, these little targets are why circuit boards glow in the dark. I think we might have talked about this in the circuit board video.
Nope. I didn't know circuit boards glow in the dark, so that's kind of cool.
But the computer vision system has a much easier time picking out a glowing ring than just a white ring. Fiducials don't just help the system find its center and realign its chi. They also compensate for warping and thermal expansion. There's no time for manual intervention. It's up to Magnus to account for everything. The board is locked, the parts are loaded, the solder paste is moist. That's the hard part, transferring each part from package to PCB. The industry standard solution is a good suck. A pneumatic pickup whizzes over and drops a needle-like head onto the component, pressing a tiny suction cup against the part's flat surface. A vacuum pump engages said suck, air pressure mashes silicon into silicone, the pickup snaps back, and the part is yanked out. The pickup whips back to the PCB, drops the head, and mashes the part into position. The pickup shuts off the vacuum to release the part and then reverses thrust. Solder paste and other contaminants can sometimes prevent the part from shaking loose, and that little puff of air dislodges any residual shenanigans. There's no wasted time. While that previous part was riding the suck nozzle express, the feeder was already advancing the tape or jiggling the tube to tee up the next component. All surface mount parts need a sufficiently suckable surface. Headers and other things with holes have to ship with stickers or detachable clips for the nozzle to grab onto. These are removed after soldering, and SparkFun has collected a lot of them. The whole motion is unbelievably fast. The pickup is propelled back and forth by a high acceleration linear motor with colossal magnets. It's capable of zipping between the furthest component and the furthest panel in like 100 milliseconds. This is so fast, if its brakes fail, the carriage can crash right through the machine's steel chassis. The X-rail actually curves inwards, so the makeshift coil gun slug will punch a hole in the inventory instead of Crushinator, Trogdor, or you know, the operator's weak human flesh. This machine has what's called a split-axis configuration. The vacuum pickup and its snappy raised lower mechanism ride on a ludicrous fast gantry that only travels left and right. The workpiece PCB is clamped to the Y carriage, which only moves a couple feet in and out. This configuration means the Y-axis doesn't have to schlep the X-axis, and the Z-axis only schleps a tiny vacuum nipple. This minimizes the amount of that pesky inertia to slow things down. After all, inertia is a property of matter. But Magnus and Marvin, like all pick and places, are packing a fourth axis, theta, or rotation. Your board might have a chip pointing at 6 o'clock, but the tape has it at 9 o'clock. Damn those chip makers, shipping chips in different orientations than my projects. As the pickup carries a component to the circuit board, the suction cup can turn in place, spinning the part right round before it goes down. The theta axis also straightens out components that arrive crooked, and as wacky as this sounds, this right here is the most sophisticated and difficult part of the entire system. Like we saw earlier, parts fit loosely in their tape tubes and trays. The wiggle room increases the odds of a clean, friction-free extraction. But this also lets parts shift during transit, and the system needs to return the part to a known position. As the part barrels towards the PCB, it passes over a one-dimensional line camera that captures a snapshot like an old-school document scanner. This is only like 2 inches from the panel, so Magnus has milliseconds to interpret the image, compensate for the rotation, reverse any offsets, and, well, this is where the most common problems happen. Sloppy molding, contaminants, and even cluttered chip markings can screw with the computer vision and botch the landing. I saw a worn-out nozzle cause some minor catastrophes by simply allowing the part to shift a little in the 2 inches between camera and board.
Snap, it failed really bad.
The pileup happened. I didn't sabotage SparkFun this time. Theoretically, my little robo bro can pick and place 16,000 parts per hour, but actually hitting that number is harder than it sounds. To get this board done on schedule, the feeding, pickup, positioning, adjustment, and placement all need to run simultaneously at top speed, but even that isn't really enough. Remember, every second spent grabbing a part from the feeder or trundling back to the board is another second not spent climbing SparkFun's on-site rock wall. Higher numbers just aren't enough. Plus, we're already expecting epoxy-coated metal-studded lightning rocks held in place by air pressure alone to withstand multiple Gs without shifting 1 mil. This metaphorical stone has lost so much blood, it's in hypovolemic shock. If we can't move faster, we have to move fewer times by grabbing more parts at once. The original solution was called a chip shooter. Literally just get more vacuum heads into the pick and place.
Oh, that looks so sick.
A turret, a revolver cylinder, or even just like a minigun style shit. So flinging around those bulky tools did slash accuracy, but it accelerated the process so aggressively, pick and place machines could almost immediately obliterate manual circuit board assemblers.
Yo, this looks so cool.
The technicians themselves, all in due time. It's a moot point, because chip shooters are obsolete. It's all because you entitled consumer brats insist that every gadget has to be a millimeter thinner every 12 months. To make each year's Plumbus marketably schmaxier, chips now have such tiny pins and are so closely packed, even 3/1000ths of an inch off center can ruin a board. Easy solution. Reduce
it looks so
weight by
six obliged
stacking
by
multiple
doing
heads
yeah.
on the same pickup.
But now
use
it's out of date,
hydraulics
which is
to run
unfortunate.
them all off one vacuum pump. That's what's going on in Magnus's special Hydra pickup. 8 pencil-thin heads move in tandem, shifting back and forth like a harmonica to collect and carry components concurrently. It picks up 8 similarly sized parts one by one, returns to the board, and deposits them. If the stars align, Magnus can even drop all 8 heads simultaneously to grab 8 parts from 8 tapes. The Hydra can even swap mid-run between carriage-mounted nozzle cassettes to handle 3 common sizes of components. But even that's not enough. SparkFun makes hundreds of products, and this machine has to handle thousands of components. Most of them are the tiny capacitors, resistors, and LEDs that are approximately the same size, and the Hydra can handle all of them. But some components can't be small, right? A USB port has to fit a USB cable. Some of them are just enormous, like an entire Raspberry Pi Pico. SparkFun could just mount a variety of nozzles on the Hydra, but that would sacrifice the ability to grab similar parts in bulk. Magnus actually splits the difference. Hidden behind the Hydra is Midas, a modular tool changer head that can dynamically swap between 6 specially shaped nozzles mounted to the carriage. The Hydra handles LEDs, resistors, capacitors, and other small parts. These are roughly the same size and mass, so they can use the same pickups. The Midas, which of course has to waste time swapping nozzles, only comes into play for the heaviest, clunkiest, and most delicate components. Usually this is fast enough for SparkFun, but some super dense or super popular products need even more time carved off the process. The penultimate thing to optimize, that means second last, is the path itself. This is basically a traveling salesman problem, the classic CS 101 algorithm challenge of visiting a number of points as quickly as possible. Technically, optimizing the pick-and-place toolpath is even more complicated, since you're dealing with round trips, nozzle compatibility, where the parts are loaded, where the boards are mounted, etc. Usually, it's not worth the trouble, and the machine itself does a little bit of light optimization on its own. The real time-saving secret ingredient is something you might have actually seen yourself. If you've ever designed a board in EagleCAD and used SparkFun's very popular parts libraries, you may have noticed that every item has a mysterious 5-digit ID number in its attribute section. It looks like one of SparkFun's product numbers, but many of them never appear on SparkFun's site. Well, SparkFun's web store and their internal inventory actually call on the same database, so what you're seeing is their internal parts tracking system. To set up a new product, the engineers send the technician the item's EagleCAD design files. A stack of custom scripts convert this into a list of which part needs to go where in which orientation. This also cross-references a database of tooling, so the pick-and-place machine knows what kind of feeder to look for, what footprint to expect, which pickup head to use, and how far to advance the tape or jiggle the reel to expose the next component. This process engineering carves hours off pre-production, and remember, SparkFun sells tons of different products, so this pays dividends dozens and dozens of times a week. It just goes to show technical improvement doesn't always come from improved technology. Magnus pile drives the last part, secures the pickup head, and presents his hard work to the technician. The tech carefully unmounts the panels, slides them into Trogdor's fire-belching maw, and faffs around for precisely 7 minutes. The completed panels fall onto a cooling rack, and the production run is coming to an end. If the board had components on the other side, it would go back through the stencil printer, the pick and place, and the infrared oven just upside down. The quick scale board only has one component side, so Magnus gets the rest of the day off. Manual assemblers manually install a through-hole terminal block, and Simmons, the KISS selective soldering machine, sprays the undercarriage with a computer-controlled jet of liquid metal.
Oh, that's
The end
cool.
product is 55 panels of 16 quick-compatible load cell front ends. Each board features resistors and caps from reels, a chip from a tube, connectors in bulk, and more, all hustling from parts inventory to sales inventory in minutes. The other smaller line was running off some kind of cellular data device, so by the end of the day, these 4 technicians and 6 bots have manufactured over 1,000...
Well, they had a decal in every single one of them. Well, I mean, Trogdor had Trogdor on it.
Products. SparkFun depanelizes the boards, a fancy way to say snaps them apart, and applies the finishing touches. Some products need firmware burned, components calibrated, LEDs color corrected, etc. So these make pit stops on a huge variety of different semi-automated test jigs, none of which go ding. Each board gets heat sealed into a plastic anti-static baggie and tagged with an inventory sticker, awaiting that glorious day when it's stuffed into a red cardboard shipping box so a hairy nerd can make a janky gimmick project that mildly amuses internet strangers for 22 minutes. But SparkFun actually has one more pick-and-place machine.
I felt called out.
D-Lab, and I've been using it to illustrate the mechanisms safely locked behind Magnus's protective glass. This open-frame model is much slower than Marvin or Magnus. It's far less precise, and it holds fewer parts, but it does cost 99% less. This guy isn't used very often, since you need to make a certain number of boards before setting up the pick-and-place job. Takes less time than just doing it by hand. But sometimes speed isn't a priority, multitasking is. These types of open frame pick and places are actually fairly affordable, and there are even a few open source models, so if you find yourself regularly installing a ton of components, you might want to pawn your job off on a robot.
Yay!
I hope you learned something interesting about the incredibly impressive technology that literally makes the modern world. If you like this episode, hit subscribe for more technical esoterica or texoterica every couple weeks. I'd like to extend my thanks to SparkFun Electronics for sponsoring this episode and letting me run amok in their Colorado HQ. If you're looking for a load cell front end to call your own, check the Descriptionino, and if you're not, I've linked some of my personal favorite SparkFun products to tempt you instead. None of these are affiliate links, I just want to help SparkFun out. Of course, thanks to Magnus the Pick and Place and Casey the Pick and Place technician for sharing their expertise and not fermenting my corpse into motor oil to grease the robot uprising, right? The good news. We have a cadre of extremely generous patrons that enable us to venture into the field.
I love the patrons. I'm letting this happen.
Bad news. I have to thank people with silly names like lab scientist Henry Bitt, the Web Machine, and disestablishmentarianism.
Ooh.
Damn patron names obscuring my luscious beard. Our hypnotic, robotic, and mildly erotic collaborators include The Suits Ruined Our Fun, Creality Online Store, Command, Castor the Catboy, What the Chuck, Schleppy the Schwagster, Alan Reiner, Ooze System Works, and Modern Idiotism. I hid their names in this video. Let me know if you find them. I may have also left my Easter egg behind at SparkFun's headquarters. If you're an employee, let me know.
Most
if you
patron
find
names were also
I was gonna
fun
do a
parts.
gag where
Yeah,
I
no, these are good.
would, like, read off the lab assistant supporters, but I realize
These are very good. These are very good patron names.
I know you love hearing me struggle to say things like, I give money to Zach, so he tells my wife I love her. Period plots. Eddie, Clifton Henning, Cameron Swords, My Dog is a Bear, Brad Cox, Thomas
My dog
Myers,
is a bear.
Vicarious Nerdgasms, Kevin DeGraff, Ghost of Brad Stormer, Little Bobby Tables, Burn Dog 3, Danny Devoid of Life, Ryan Gould, Proto Saggins, Vajelli, Bob Dobbington, Dimitri Lair, Alma the Great, Kyle Fisher, One Handful of Beans, Stormby Design, Michael Scratchfinger, Roger Pigham of the Great Star Theater, Joshua Godovin, Bum Tickly 69, Zanforian, Good Lady Nat, Queen of Lemons, Victor of the Great Citrus Wars, Trans Rights, what appears to be a thin strip of zebra, Rusty Flute, Bill Schooler, Dempsers, Brian Cawford, Varka, Danny McGee, Babington Q Stabsworth the Fourth.
That's a good name.
Isakai Elf Mahiro Chan, Desi Nah, Quantumly Tangled, SXP, Nathan Johnson, Michael Roche. I inspired the Next Layers YouTube channel, so you guys should check it out. It's true, he's got some good Gridfinity videos. Onyx Plague, Good Suck, The Cuttlefish, Iron Rain, Kink Shaming Warless, Protagonist, Boulder Creek Yard James, Birds Aren't Real, Wake Up Sheeple, Granville Schmidt, Ashley Coleman, Lydia K, Azundo, Wielder of Iron, Heater of Shrink.
These are
Dax
such a good.
Earl,
These are
Sunburnt
such
Cat,
good
A
names.
Very Fine Dumpster Fire, Marxism, Steven 6 foot 6 figure 6 pack Schulte, Oral Netta, Trump did nothing wrong, Samuel Roos, Pussy Nugget, The Antifa, The Benevolent Misanthrope, Bernard, Powerful CCH, this guy whose name I refuse to pronounce, Cats, Quantum Foam, Max Lux says, I'll teach you Epson, Call Sign Carrot, Talon Democratic Socialist, and a pretty righteous dude, Acorn, Get Lion, Hike It, and Cullen J. Webb, will you please marry me and make me the happiest cyborg half alive? Oh my god, someone just proposed my patron role. Brooke, get the champagne, they're in love. Thanks for watching, and sorry for delaying your engagement by a month. May all your dreams come true, and may they all go ding. I'll see you in the future.
It's very satisfying because the video also ends in a ding to show that it's done. Also, Lunefera, hello. Thank you for the subscription for 4 months. Very awesome. One of my favorite moths. Moth. Anyway, that was the last video of tonight. So we got through a good amount, not gonna lie. We made a good amount of progress. I made a list of what we learned. All right, what did we learn in class? I'll play this as, I guess, our outro. I don't know what to say. Intel is a longtime lead ambassador. Burger Becky is based. Turning the planet to gold burns you alive. Physicals compensate for warping and thermal expansion. That is those are all very true. Keep those lessons to heart? Question mark. Anyway. So this is the part where I usually say that this is the end of this week's stream schedule, but however, things were changed a little bit, and tomorrow is actually going to be another stream. We're going to be playing Tetris. And we're going to be playing more Tetris, going to be doing more ranked in order to keep myself up and, got to do that that weekly stream. And also, my fight board, I got an update. So, I made it a little bit better sounding. Like, take a listen. Like, and you'll get to hear those noises and more on tomorrow's Tetrio stream. Luna, I'm on a Tetris kick. It's less of a Tetris. I would say it's a Tetris kick. Yeah, I mean it's competitive Tetris. 2, I'm actually doing pretty well, and 3, people like it. So that's cool. You put holy pandas. I'm not. These are just some tiny linear switches, and besides, it's basically a fight pad, but you get to hear these and more later. So, Tetris is fun. Alright, hope to see you guys tomorrow, same time, well, earlier time, because I slept late, same place. Make sure you save before you go, and have a wonderful rest of your night. Bye-bye. Yeah.